Right, welcome back to the channel, and today we've got somebody from Bond Gallery, and that is Stephan, to tell us a little bit more about how you could go about when you want to buy your first house. Stephan, welcome.
Thanks so much, Dace. I really appreciate it. It's an amazing opportunity, and I'm so glad that I could be here today.
No, fantastic. So Stephan, you've been in this space for quite some time. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, you know, as well as Bond Gallery, for anyone else that's looking at, buying their first home.
Yeah, sure. So I've been with Bond Gallery for the last 9 years, almost 9 years. I started off as an estate agent myself, and then
Okay.
we just decided that we want to move to the Garden Route area, and I have a friend in Bond Gallery, and we spoke about options and stuff, doing things, yeah. And we spoke about maybe starting up a license on this side, and that's how I started with Bond Gallery. And I've been with them, as I said, for almost 9 years. And I recently joined the Billionaires Club.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we've done more than R1 billion deals in the last 9 years, and I was actually astonished. So yeah, there's a lot of business and also good clients in our area that's
Unbelievable.
willing to buy. Yes.
Right. So for those out there that doesn't understand what a bond originator actually does, can you give us some guidelines, and also, just explain how that process works with, you wanting to acquire your first, home or home loan, if I can call it that?
Yeah, no, sure. So I would always recommend starting off with a bond originator, because our job is to try and see what someone qualifies for a bond.
Yeah.
That's usually, as I said, I can't overemphasize how very important that is, because without you knowing what you qualify for, you can, at the end of the day, look at a property and you fall in love with it. And then when you get to buying, then you can't afford the property, according to the National Credit Act. So I would always say, start with us. We do the pre-qualification for you. And also very important is that our service is totally free. So we get paid commission by the bank. So there's no fee towards the client. And it's also a win-win situation, because we do a free service. We go to all the banks. We try and see at what we can get as a good deal. Say, for instance, on the interest rate, on attorney discount, that type of thing. So, and we motivate transactions through.
So what is one of the biggest misconceptions in South Africa that, first-time homeowners or buyers, face?
People think that once they've applied and we get a decline from the bank, then they won't be able to try again, which is not the case at all.
Yeah.
So we usually try our best to try and see if we can't get the deal through the transaction. If we're not successful, we actually then get a reason for it, or we try and motivate and see if we can't get an approval.
Yes. Okay, no, fantastic. So can you walk us through what this process looks like, so that somebody that's their first time that's now applying, just so that they've got sort of an idea of what this entails?
Okay, so usually when we make contact with the client, we also ask them for certain documents. And it's also according to the minimum required documents that the banks usually require. So that the best thing is to make contact with us. We guide you through the whole process, and we hold your hand through everything. So, because there's a lot of people that you don't buy property every day, and I know that, and that's something that we realize, and we guide our clients, and we're always there for them. It doesn't matter when, but even if it's after 5, you're more than welcome. Your clients are more than welcome to phone me. I'm always there to help and assist.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned the documents. So what is sort of some of the documents that, that clients need to have up front when applying, and seeing how much they qualify for?
Yeah, that's a good question, because usually it depends on what type of client we're looking at. So usually with salaried applicants, we look at ID copy. We all have a POPI Act form as well, so we need that. We look at the last 3 months pay slips for, and if they earn a different salary each month, then we ask for the last 6 months or commission. And then also the same with the bank statements. If you've got a self-employed client, it's a bit more trickier, but we do get very good offers from the banks, but they usually then require the last 2 years financials, management accounts not older than 2 months, 6 months bank statements, and then we also ask for the CK1 and CK2 or the core documents
Yeah.
from CIPC.
Yeah.
And that's usually the main documents. Income confirmation letter also from an accountant. So it's important to have a good accountant that can assist you through the whole process.
Absolutely.
We also have in this area a lot of pensioners. So that's something that I also wanted to mention, is that a lot of our older generation people, they would sell their property, say for instance in Johannesburg or wherever, and they would like to buy in this area. And some of them has this whole perception that they can't buy a property, which is
Yes.
not the case. The banks actually offer a loan up to an age of 75.
Oh, wow.
So they
Okay.
can still look at buying a property. Say, for instance, they're 65, then we will be able to get a bond for them with a 10-year term.
Okay.
So that's also something good to know. And then we'll ask usually for them to send through a proof of their pension, their ID copy, Poppy Act form, bank statements, just to verify their income.
Fantastic. And I think that's very important to know, because, I mean,
Yes.
you know, if you at a certain age and you think, oh, you know, I'm not going to qualify for anything anymore, but you might just be in that position where you're now
Exactly.
looking and you thought, and now after watching this, you'll go, I might have a shot. Let me give this a go.
Yes, exactly.
So I think that's fantastic. Now, with the process, I know, having dealt with a lot of customers wanting to view property, they normally only after viewing the property want to start the process. But I mean, you mentioned it earlier, then you don't know what you qualify for.
Exactly.
And, you know, you're giving hopes to the seller that there might be a potential buyer. You know, the property practitioners obviously trying their best to obviously accommodate everybody. But are you in agreement that the process should start prior to start looking at properties, because you need to know what you can afford?
Definitely. I would always say the thing is that you can also go online and you can try and see if you can't get a pre-qualification. And the thing is, with a pre-qualification, you're not always looking at the same things as what the banks do.
Yeah.
In our case, we usually do the pre-qualification. So we look at your income, your expenses, and then we give a certificate to state what amount you qualify for. So
Yeah.
I would definitely say start with us. It's free, as I said. So definitely start with us and know if you love a property, or you can start shopping then in that price range.
Yes.
Instead of looking at something that's above your price range and you get disappointed at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, I get asked a lot by customers, because I'm quite frank, because the seller plus the buyer or investor, I look at all the parties, so I wear multiple hats. Now, for me, which is very disheartening at times, is if somebody comes to you and says, oh, I want to go view a 30 million rand property. Fantastic. You know, you ask the relevant questions. You're going to have to do the FICA process at a later stage in any case. So you ask, cool, is there, you know, funds? Is there, you know, a condition of sale, whether it's another property or a business? What does that look like? And, you know, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, it's got nothing to do with you. And well, I need to know if you qualify, first of all, to go view a property of this magnitude.
Yeah.
And second of all, I need to give peace of mind to the seller, you know, for bringing somebody through as well. So, and a lot of times people don't understand this concept because they think you're being arrogant, or, you know, gone are the days for me of the window shopping type of, you know, approach, where people are just going and viewing properties of around 1 million or 2 million and that type of thing. I mean, nowadays properties are going for a lot of millions.
Exactly.
So for me, you know, I always try and, you know, understand what people qualify for as well. But it's like almost like they think you like looking down on them or whatever the case might be. So that's something I've personally experienced. And I always just say to them, look, unfortunately, I do have parties that I need to look out for. And these are the type of questions that I need to, you know, ask specifically for those higher end properties. What can a client look at? And I know there is calculators out there that they can obviously fill and complete. have you guys got a calculator of sort that you can sort of guide clients, or how does that work?
What we usually do is that we, as I said, always just contact me
Yeah.
and I will assist you to try and see what amount you qualify for. But what we usually do is we can only by law, by the National Credit Act, use 30% of your gross monthly income
Okay.
towards a bond repayment.
Okay.
So what we do is that we look at your income, we look at a 30% of that gross income before deductions, to see what amount you qualify for. But most important is also that we have to look at also what expenses you have.
Yes.
And after the expenses, some of the banks actually also require that uh, with looking at your expenses to service the bond, also to have 1,000 to 1,500 rand left after all your expenses
Okay.
and your bond repayment was paid. So that's something that we also have to look at. Otherwise, you will not, unfortunately, qualify. I've had clients that do qualify for a higher amount bond because of their income, but the expenses are too high.
Mm.
That's the other major thing. So it's always better to do, because you can do a pre-qualification online, as I mentioned, but you can add your income and your expenses. But some people think if they don't tell the bank about the expenses, they won't be able to pick it up.
Understand.
And unfortunately, that's not the case.
Yeah.
They pick up everything.
Yeah.
So
Now, obviously, when you in a relationship, and depending on whether you're married or dating somebody, etc., at what point can you and your spouse apply for a home loan together? If you can maybe give us some insight
that's
into
a
that.
very good question, because I've got a lot of clients that do ask me, listen, yeah, can we only apply in my name, or can I apply with someone else? But usually, if you look at it, if we work on only one person, then the qualification goes on one person only.
Mm.
Where if we try and add a second person, so it actually doesn't have to be a husband and a wife. It
Yeah.
can be a mother, father, and also cousin, anyone, a friend. The people can they can buy together.
Yes.
And also, especially if you want to buy for investment,
Mm.
because with two incomes, your qualification amount is obviously much higher.
Yeah.
And we also try and get the best rate so that you qualify for more. So also the interest rate is very important, because that also tells you, will I be able to afford this property, and also 30 years. And
Yes.
so that's something that we look at. So we've got a few things that we look at, and we always try and make or get the most amount that you can qualify for. But it's important to be able to buy with two people, because in our area, we need higher income earners because of the higher price range that
Yeah.
we have in the area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think once again it's important for the consumer to know that those options are available.
Yes.
In order to acquire their either their first property or additional properties for investment purposes, like you
Exactly.
mentioned. Now, another question that I've got is, how important is a good credit score, and particularly, what does a good credit score look like in South Africa? Just in a nutshell.
Sure, that's a good question, because the thing is, I've had a few clients that do not know exactly how a credit score works,
Mm.
what the credit score is. And there's a lot of things, and it's good that you asked me about it, because we've had a lot of issues with debt review. You
Yeah.
can't believe it, where people phone people or clients and advise them that they can actually decrease their monthly installments and stuff like that, but they do not mention debt review. And then the minute that they sign the document, they are under debt review, and they can't get
Mm.
any debt in South Africa
Yeah.
until it's sorted, until it's actually handled and paid off and cleared. So I usually tell people that it's very important to know and do a credit check, not every month, but do know what your credit score is at.
Yeah.
And a good credit score, we can apply from 610 and up, but the average is about 650
Okay.
to 670 as a
Okay.
credit score.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's sort of the average score line that you need to be
Yes.
around if you want to apply.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
fantastic.
And also get a not too bad interest rate, because remember, it's all about risk for the banks.
Correct.
So the better your credit score, the better your interest rate.
Yeah. Now, on that topic, can you, on behalf of the customer, negotiate a better rate?
Definitely.
Okay.
That's our job.
Okay.
So we definitely look at all the banks. That's why it's better for us to apply at all the major banks, and then try and see if we can't get a better rate. A relationship with a bank is also very important.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what we usually then do is we ask a client, do you have a preferred bank? Obviously your own bank, or sometimes they would state, no, I'm looking at moving to another bank.
Mm.
So let's see if we can't get a better rate at that bank. So what we'll do is then we'll get all the offerings from all the banks, and then we will start negotiating the rate by sending the bank's offers to each other and
Yes.
trying to see where we can get the best deal then,
Okay.
or rate at the end of the day. And also to mention with that, these days we also get some discount on the bond attorney fees and first time home buyers, but that we'll also get into
Fantastic.
later on.
Good. Okay, Stephan, I think for our first episode together, I think that was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank
And
you.
for you at home, if you want to know a little bit more about any of the topics we discussed here today, please get in touch with Stephan. All of his contact details will be on the screen, and ask those questions. The service is free. I mean, why not? Stephan, once again, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you,
and
Taz.
we'll have more episodes coming up
Definitely.
with some of the discussions. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We are Bond Gallery, your bond finder, taking the stress off. We make it kinder. You find the house, we'll find the home. Together, you'll never be alone.